Jason, thanks for joining us today.
Hey, Chris, how you doing?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
Man? I'm doing okay. Okay. I mean, we're cruising through the summer.
Right? It's
Time
hot.
is flying. It's hot. Yeah.
It is hot.
Yeah.
I know the kids have been enjoying the pool.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Nice.
It's definitely that hot.
We got a pool at our house.
You do?
Yeah, we did. Just this weekend.
Nice. Congrats.
Yeah, we carried it around the house, put it on the deck. Put 6 inches of water in it.
Yeah, and the kids loved it, didn't they?
The little ones. Teenagers, they don't care.
Not so much. You just hose them down with a hose.
But we had both of the, Donna had both of the babies in the little kiddie pool the other day. And,
Oh, that's awesome.
cute little pictures and stuff like that. And,
That's cool.
and the dog's just not sure about it.
Right.
Like, we just adopted a dog recently. And and we're like, oh, I bet she jumps in. And,
Right.
she's kind of like, I don't know.
I'm not sure what to make of that.
Yeah, so she's learned to drink out of it a little bit.
I was going to say,
that's about it.
Looks like a huge water bowl.
Yeah.
Except that there's people in it.
Yeah. Does your pool act like a huge water bowl sometimes?
Oh, totally does.
Yeah.
Totally does. I try to keep them out of the pool, though. I don't want the dogs in the pool. So.
Yeah, because you got furry ones.
Yeah, that and nails do bad things for liners.
Oh, yeah.
So,
I bet so.
Yes.
I bet so.
Anyways.
Well, happy summer, man.
Yes.
Yeah,
Same to you.
It's good stuff.
So what are we doing today?
Well, one, we've got a really cool interview coming up here in a little bit.
I know. I'm excited about that.
With a friend of ours from Savannah, Georgia, that we affectionately call Donut Tom. And we'll tell you a little bit more about Tom later. But first off, we want to just talk about a quick leadership tool.
Yeah.
A phrase that we've used a lot on the podcast of what's it like to be on the other side of me?
Yes.
That is a question that we as leaders need to be sure and ask. That what's it like being on the other side of the table from Jason Kempf?
Right.
From Chris Wood, from, whoever you are listening, do you take the moment to be self-aware and be intentional about, looking at yourself as a leader? I guess the analogy would be like when you wake up in the morning, you get cleaned up, you get showered, you brush your teeth, you get dressed. And in those moments, you're being intentional about what you have coming down the road, right?
Right.
I mean, I've got a certain pair of shorts and a couple of certain shirts that those are my weekend, I'm going to work in the yard shirts and shorts. I don't really wear those anywhere else. And so on certain days of the week, I'm much more intentional with what I put on. I'm going to work, I got a meeting, or, this is just, right?
Right. Totally.
Yeah. And so we look at ourselves in the mirror and we think, all right, what do I need for the day? And so the question behind being a leader is very similar, that we're holding up a mirror to ourselves to be intentional of what's it like being on the other side of me? Okay. And there's 3 things that we need to look at. If you want to think of them as like a kind of a pendulum swinging of the first is from reactive to proactive. Okay. So reactive just means we're just kind of being, go by the moment. So whatever happens at 10 a.m. is what I'm working on at 11 a.m. And then whatever comes down the road at 7 o'clock at night probably dictates what I'm going to be doing before bed. That just being reactive to the situation, to those around us, and we're not really being proactive, which is thinking through, all right, what needs to be done today?
Right.
I was looking at a day planner not long ago where one of the pages just said, I love the language on it. It's like the first box on the page was, what is the most important thing I need to get done today? One thing. And then the next box was other things I may or may not do. And I was like, okay, to look at the day and say, here's the absolute one thing that I must get done today. What's the most important thing? And then everything else, there's a little bit of freedom on, and so how are we being proactive?
Right.
Are we just reacting to the situation, the people, the circumstances around us, or are we truly being proactive in what we're doing as a leader? When we think about people, how we lead people, how we just sculpture our day and things like that. So the next pendulum that we need to look at from, swinging one way or the other is accidental versus intentional. So accidental is similar to reactive, that you're just kind of like, at the end of the day going, oh man, I did get a win with that employee. That turned out pretty good. Blind squirrel catches a nut every once in a while. That is accidental. We're just kind of going through the day, going through life, and going through the business. And in the midst of it, somebody pops in our office. We have a conversation. They walk away, and we go, "Oh man, that actually worked.
Right.
That might have actually been impactful on their end, or that really helped me. And so how can we be intentional interactions in the relationships, in the conversations, in the tasks that we do? How do we be intentional in those ways?
And, you and I are just talking about this for me personally, and I'm going to tattletale on myself as somewhat. Like, I know there's times in business that people just get so inundated with things, right? With different tasks or different things coming at them. It's kind of hard to stay up on making sure you're intentional with that. Because I know the other day I just happened to be bumped into this where I was trying to help one of my guys that was helping me, and I completely walked away and didn't help him at all. And I had to go back and apologize because I was like, I'm sorry, I just had too much on my mind, and I meant to help you with this, and I apologize that I didn't. You know what I mean? Because I felt bad that I had not done what I was trying to do while I was talking to him.
Right.
And completely sidetracked it. And to the point where I prepped and started to get ready to do it and opened boxes to make sure I could make it happen, and then completely got sidetracked and walked away from it. So,
but I'm sure in that instance there were still some things that accidentally took place.
Yes.
And so your apology was more in the, I wanted to be more intentional.
Right.
More
intentional and better focused.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah.
Absolutely. And we have moments.
Right.
I mean, we're not,
Right. I love this tool because I think, like you said, it's very much about being intentional, and because these things are important. Making sure that we're intentional with our time and intentional with the people that are around us that are helping us.
Right.
It's huge.
Yeah. I mean, and we're going to, as leaders, we're, in the morning we're going to get ready and we're going to put some, put clothes on, and we're going to walk downstairs, and our spouse is going to go, "Are you really going to wear that?"
Right.
those don't match. We're going to have those moments.
Yeah.
And so how do we get back on track? How do we not just slip into that accidental reactive mode and just like, I just can't, how do we get back to the other side of that?
Right.
So the other pendulum thing that we need to compare is, are we inconsistent or are we consistent? Which is kind of what you were just mentioning a minute ago of, we want to show up. We want to be consistent.
Right.
Yeah.
We want to make that difference each day with that one thing, if that's the only thing that we do for that day. Right.
Whether that's a specific, I'm trying to think, like with the uncommons, we talked about this on the podcast. I think it was last week, right? Of bringing on help, that we need to have a consistent presence in promoting on social media. Developing a brand, developing the buzz around the name, and to be consistent in showing up. That required bringing some help on.
Right.
That was something that I could not do. I wanted to be intentional. I was being very intentional, but I was being very reactive. Going, well, I can't do that today. Tomorrow's fine.
Right.
And so that inconsistency doesn't accomplish the goals that we want to get to. And so being consistent and just showing up, being present in that.
Right.
And so, so what, if we look at ourselves in this leadership mirror, and we find that we're being more reactive, accidental, or inconsistent in our leadership, right? The side we don't want to be on, right?
Right.
What is the effect of our leadership if that is true?
I think that if you are in that, you're not effective. You're not as effective, I think, as you can be. I think that's what I struggle with. Sometimes it's like, you feel like you can accomplish more or do more if you're more intentional, more focused, more proactive. I think there's days where you kind of have, sometimes it falls to that side because what you started to be proactive with isn't going to work.
Right.
Right? But there's some of that too. But I think as much as you can possibly focus on being proactive and staying ahead of it, I think you are more, and being intentional, you are more effective.
Right.
Don't you agree?
That is where influence comes in, right?
Right.
When you're just reactive and accidental and inconsistent, you're diminishing your influence.
Right.
And like you said, even if you're being proactive and you step in it, you do the wrong thing.
Right.
being responsive in that moment and saying, "Hey, I'm sorry, we have to go a different direction." You're still showing that you're proactive. You're being intentional about your steps. You're not just, "Hey, I screwed up." Because I was just fighting fires.
Right.
You're still showing proactive, intentional, consistent leadership in the business. So even if you make a wrong step,
Right.
the people following go, "Oh wow, look at that."
Right.
We see how to make course corrections,
Right.
and and things like that. And so, yeah, if we're not being these things, we're viewed as hypocritical. We're viewed as why would I let you speak into my life?
Right. Yep.
Where there is no influence there. So these are great things to look at.
Right.
And
I completely agree. And definitely keeping on, like, there's so many of these tools. I'll be honest with you, Jason. Like, we go through all these tools, and I always appreciate that we do, because it helps me go, oh yeah, I need to come back and take a look at that. And take a minute, like, and make sure that I'm using that effectively, so that I'm
right.
And I think I get more out of this podcast because of that. Like, I mean, I love talking to people too, right? Because it's always neat to hear their journeys and stuff like that. But it also is so helpful when you're talking to other leaders who are doing these things, and how effective and how amazing it is to be effective, and all the blessings that come with that as well.
Right.
So,
yeah, I think you're not a golfer, right?
Not yet. I'm supposed to be picking that up at some point.
Aspirational golfer,
right?
One of the things when you play golf is there's all these swing thoughts. Okay, are my feet in the right place? Are my knees bent? Do I have the right posture? Are my shoulders square? Am I gripping the club properly? Do I have the right tension? And that's before you even start the swing.
Right.
There's 100 others that run through your mind. What's the wind? What's the distance? You have 5 million things. And so as leaders, it's kind of similar that we have these leadership thoughts of, thinking in the morning, being intentional of, okay, what's it going to be like to be on the other side of me today? Am I being proactive, intentional, and consistent? Am I showing up regularly in the lives of the people around me?
Yeah.
And so,
I love that.
It's good stuff, man.
It is.
And the next step, I mean, 1, you look at yourself in the mirror. 2, the next step is asking other people, hey, what's it like being on the other side of me?
Right.
Do you feel like I'm being proactive?
Yeah.
Do you feel like I'm being intentional? Am I consistent? Yeah.
And what do you think I could change?
Ooh.
Those are some heavy questions.
They are. Man, you got to be willing to hear the feedback.
Oh, yes.
You got to be willing to
accept it
and
for what
make
it
some
is.
Transformation in your life.
Right. And mind you, like, I encourage people to do that for sure. I think that at some level you do need to be careful with who you're asking those questions to, and making sure that they have your best
trusted, absolutely.
Your best interests as well.
Right. But man, if you're walking into a business meeting and you just finished lunch and you dripped a little something on your shirt and it's still there, and somebody catches you and go, hey, you got a little something on your shirt. And you just think, man, that just saved me. I was about to go into this meeting with this bleh on my shirt.
Right. So true.
That's what this question does for us.
Right.
What is it like to be leading? What's going on? What do I need to fix? So, cool stuff, man.
Yeah. I'm so glad we touched on this topic today, because I feel like Tom, who we're going to talk with here shortly, right?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I feel like he is very intentional.
Oh, man.
And has done an excellent job of trying to be intentional with his time and who he is and what he's doing.
Right.
I mean, this is truly aspirational, like, from my perspective. And like, he is walking a slow walk, and he recognizes that. And I'm super excited to be able to share this with everybody on the podcast, because it is completely different at some level.
It's a little countercultural in the business world.
To take this pace.
Yeah. And I think it's admirable.
Yes, I agree.
100%.
I agree.
Yeah.
And do I think it's for everybody? Probably not.
Right.
But I love the fact that he is so focused on
being consistent
and being consistent,
showing up.
Yes,
in the lives of dads.
And I don't want to give any more information.
I know,
because I've already gone too deep. I know, but let's go jump into this.
So we're going to interview Tom Neary, affectionately known as Donut Tom around here.
Tom.
He was in a cohort with Chris and I during the pandemic.
Yep.
I mean, it's been a
We
little
started
while.
it right there at the beginning of the pandemic.
And, where we talked about the blending of the marketplace, business, and faith. And Tom has an incredible story. He's in Savannah, Georgia, and is starting a business called Dad's Donut House. And somehow donuts and fatherhood relate.
Right.
So let's jump over and find out more.
Sounds good. Hey, Tom. Thanks for joining us today.
Hey, thanks so much. Glad to be
Welcome,
here.
man. Glad to have you.
Yes, we're super excited to talk with you today. And actually, you're our first interview that we've done via video. So this is completely new for me too. I'm still getting used to this.
Oh,
We
you could have
normally
flown me up there. I would have sat with you.
You know what? I would love to sat and had a donut with you.
Yeah, we wouldn't have brought you here. We would have gone.
We would have
south.
come to see you. So let's talk about we know where you're at right now. We'll get there. Give us some background information on Tom.
Sure. I grew up in central New York, south of Rochester. I grew up. My parents. We lived out in the middle of nowhere, and so you would have thought like I would have a farm and all that stuff. But my mom killed my duck when I was a kid.
Oh, no.
Yeah, ran it over with the car. And that sent me on a different direction.
I can see where that would be problematic.
Right? Game over. So never got into that stuff while we were living in the middle of nowhere. And we ended up moving so that I could be in a better school, and left the country. And it's been a wild journey. Going from basically the middle of nowhere to now where we live in a city.
So you live now where?
But we live in Savannah, Georgia.
Okay.
So Savannah's amazing because it's like the oldest small town city in the country. It's so unique, and we love it. So we get sort of that country feel every once in a while, but the beauty of the trees and everything that's out here.
That's awesome.
But Savannah is not necessarily small.
I was going to say, yeah.
It's still a pretty good sized metro, right?
It is. So yes, but they've also done a lot to make sure that it stays old looking. Cool. They have so many regulations and things that don't allow it. They don't have skyscrapers. They don't have it really is just that old, beautiful old town, old city feel, and they're really keeping it that way. So that's been cool.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about your family and.
Yeah. So my wife and I met when we were in college. She had to convince me to date her. And that was cool. And I was trying to not date anybody. I had kind of done a lot of that. And so I was like, all right, I'm done. And it's always at that moment when you realize like, oh, here's the right one.
Yeah.
Right.
When you say I'm done, I'm done trying. Boom, there's the right one. And so, we've been married now. It'll be, it was 16 years.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Congrats.
So, 16 years. We have 4 kids. We've lived in South Dakota. We lived in Buffalo, New York. We lived in New Brunswick, Canada. And now here we are in the beautiful, warm South here in Savannah. So
emphasis on warm today, I'm sure.
Right?
Yeah, it's supposed to be 100 tomorrow.
Oh, man.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Do you guys
upper
have
90s.
the humidity?
There's a lot of humidity.
Do you? Okay.
But, yeah. I will trade 2 months of hot weather for 5 months of will it snow and how much are we going to get? So, yeah.
So, okay. So you had kids, doing the family thing. So you're a busy guy. So bring us along with the business conception and some of the things that you've done in the midst of it to get you to down the road of even entertaining starting a business.
Yep. So I never thought we would do a business at all. I was a pastor for 10 years, and I thought I would do that for the rest of my life, working with middle school and high school students. But the thing that I kept seeing while I was working with the students and their families was the importance of a father and the difference that a dad makes in the lives of the kids that I was serving. And so we had this opportunity to look at our lives and say, all right, what do we want to do with the rest of our lives? And we were kind of all those, everything was kind of coming to a point, and we were like, I think we want to do something about that. How can we help inspire fathers to be present in the lives of their families is really what came out of it. And so, yeah, we had, for I think it was 7 years before that point, I had been taking my kids to get donuts every week. And every week we would get donuts. Every week we would take a picture. And it started out of necessity because my wife had a job and she needed to work one day. And so that meant I had the kids, and I didn't grow up with a dad who would on a whim take me out and we would go get a snack, or we would go do something fun, or even go and work together. It was always business. Like, hey, we have to do this, so you have to come with me. and so having an entire day with my kids, I was like, I don't know what to do. And so we started with donuts because I figured I want donuts. And so I got them sugared, and then we went to the library, and then we go from the library. Oftentimes we go to like a park, and either go on the trails or go find something else that we could do that was free and fun.
Oh, that's awesome.
And so out of that came I would post a picture every week of me and the kids, or just the kids, and people would say, hey, I'm going to do that. And it really inspired some people to do what we were doing. And I kind of caught this vision for maybe we could do this and help inspire other people to do the same thing, other dads to do the same thing with their kids.
Can I ask a quick question? When you said that you went to a transition time where you were trying to figure out what you wanted to do about the future and some things that you wanted to change, was that a job shift, or was that just one of those moments in time where you and your wife were like, hey, what do we want our future to look like? Or, kind of those kind of questions. Like, it sounds like that all came up, and I'm just curious to know if there was an outside thing that affected that shift.
Yep. Yeah. So it was a job change. So I had been working in a church, and they sat me down, and they had been saying, work yourself out of a job and we'll promote you. And so I did. I lined up people to do different aspects of the ministry. And then when it came time for the promotion, they go, well, we actually don't have any spot for you. And
oh, wow.
Yeah. And so I took that as, you can take that as two ways. You can take it as, I'm terrible, or you can take it as, I think there might be something more for us somewhere else.
Yeah.
And we have been kind of getting those feelings like there might be something more that we need to do with our lives than just being a youth pastor. Like I mentioned, those thoughts of, I think we can help more people if we would do something different. They were very real and very much there. And
that's awesome.
Yeah. It was really, what are we going to do? We have this blank canvas in front of us.
So I didn't want to shift your story, but when let's go back to the pictures of the weekly pictures at the donut shop. So that became a point of, so you started posting pictures on like social media or something?
Yep. So we would post them on Facebook every week. And people started doing the same thing. And one thing led to another. And we were like, all right, if we're going to, looking back, because a lot of people tell you, a good friend told me this. He said, what does your past tell you about your future? And he's like, what did you enjoy about what you've done so far? And I was like, man, I loved inspiring people. And I loved eating donuts with my kids. I think there's something to it. And also, I was leading a small group of dads. So we had a small group together of dads that we would get together every week, and our whole thing was we want to be better husbands and better fathers, and I think we said better sons, because we were in a church and we understand that life is so much better lived when you have a relationship with your Heavenly Father, and so we were all about that.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Yep.
So did the donut venue, was that a place where you were able to hold that small group there as well, or that was just part of your family stuff, and then you started?
Yeah, this was all pre donuts.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
So
this is
out
where we just ate donuts and hung out with people.
Okay. So this is all the preliminary stuff. So got to that point. So now what made you, what was the initial steps of, hey, I think we need to combine these two?
Yeah. So, so it really came down to, we were feeling those nudges of figuring out what's next, and understanding that we had been in ministry for 10 years, working as a youth pastor, and kind of getting the idea that just like there was something more for business, like that God wanted to use our ministry in a different way. We had been working with a guy who was sold on one model of church, just one way of doing church, and he loved videos, and you send a video to everybody in your church and they watch it, and they're supposed to grow together, and he said he'd be like, you can't go into a community without knowing anybody and open up a church. It was very much against that, and I'm kind of a rebel, and so I think that was something that was used to kind of inspire this rebellious, like, watch God work.
Right.
Let's see what he's going to do, because they call it a parachute drop, where you don't know anybody. You just drop in and you plant a church and you watch God work. It requires a lot of faith. And along the journey, we had a couple of people that randomly reminded us in different ways how God had given us and blessed us with a lot of faith to do things like this, to play the long game. Because I remember I have in the back of my head, I used to listen to like Entree Leadership, Dave Ramsey.
Yeah. Dave Ramsey, yeah.
Yeah. And he would say, well, if it isn't profitable after 4 months, what are you doing? And I think about our journey, and like the donuts, they're not profitable yet. We have pockets of profitability, but we aren't open yet. And so it's taking the steps to get where we need to be, and being willing to play the long game, versus that, well, it didn't happen in 4 months. Well, I guess we're out.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It takes that long faith to keep going. So, because we were, like I said, we haven't really talked about this, but we were in Buffalo, and so all this was happening in Buffalo, all these thoughts and everything, and then we knew that our time in Buffalo was up. We weren't sure where we were going. And so we actually we looked at a map and we were like, okay, we're going to go to anywhere but Florida and Michigan. We said Florida's too hot, which is ironic because there's so many times where Florida is hotter than Savannah. But don't tell my wife. And it's all about perceptions. And and Michigan, we're part of the Wesleyan Church, and there are so many Wesleyan churches in Michigan. We said we are not going to go there. We're gonna go somewhere else, somewhere that didn't have a Wesleyan church. And we didn't know this at the time, but apparently John Wesley had a really crazy year here in Savannah.
Really?
Yeah, we get here and there's like monuments to John Wesley, and I apparently had missed that stuff in the history classes.
Right.
I've really just been like, okay, I just need to follow Jesus, and I missed that about him being here. But it's cool because he was here for a year, and it was the hardest year in ministry that he had. And then on the way back over to England, because he essentially failed, and on the way back over is where God really moved in his heart, and we now have the Wesleyan Church and what God has done all over the world through that. So
wow,
yeah,
man, that's cool. So,
yeah.
I share being a pastor with you, and I identify with your faith journey, and absolutely love that. I want to explore a little bit from professional donut eater to, hey, we could bake these out of our home, and then tell us about the progression of business and kind of the initiation of you're calling it Dad's Donut House, right?
Yep.
Okay, tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So the first time we made donuts, it snowed 7 feet in Buffalo. And I literally started this GoFundMe. It was called "Send the Nearys to a Warm Place." That was all foreshadowing because none of this was in the works.
That's unbelievable.
But yeah, that was the first time we made donuts together as a family, and then we had the idea. Now we are of the belief that you can find anything on YouTube, and you can find anything you want on the internet. And so, like, we're not professional bakers. We never went to culinary school and learned how to bake. We learned how to eat good donuts. So I knew what we were looking for.
Right. There's half the battle.
Half of it. Yeah, absolutely. My wife's an incredible baker. Just like she can make anything. And so we grabbed a recipe offline and we tried it, and then we grabbed a different one and we tried it. And we made little tweaks here and there along the way because there really isn't anything new about donuts. A donut is a donut. And so, we're not out to, break the mold. We just want to make really good donuts.
Right.
And so, once we figured out which donut recipe we liked, the next step was we did a wedding. We did donuts for a wedding. It was our first thing that we ever got paid for, which was pretty cool. We were here in Savannah, and we, the lady, I was working at Starbucks at the time. Because being a pastor, this was a big thing for me. Being a pastor, I didn't have the rhythms that you should have to work in a shop. My rhythms were, pray and talk with people, and prepare for one day. When you're in a donut shop, it's every day that you're preparing, and so I wanted something to teach me. How do I do the rhythms of the day? And so I actually started in Buffalo working at Starbucks. And then I moved down here to Savannah and worked at Starbucks. And that really, those days really helped me learn how to talk to people again. Because in the church, you learn one way to talk to people. And it's more like talking at them. And when you're in a business, when you're in the community, you have to be able to listen. And that's what working at Starbucks taught me.
That's awesome.
So that was really good.
That's cool. Yeah. So you guys are currently cooking out of your house, right?
Yes. So we've always had the plan that we will have a cottage business license. I shouldn't say this. The plan is don't buy stuff we can't afford. And if God hasn't provided it, then we're going to stay where we are, and wait till we can develop the business more to move forward.
That's awesome.
Right before COVID, we like a month before, we bought a food truck, and we were just about getting ready to have that hit the streets. There are so many legal permit, all that hoops we got to jump through.
Right.
But
because when you're preparing food, there's even more hoops to jump through.
Yeah, and we're preparing donuts, so it's not like some people, they got the red meat and all that stuff,
right? Which is a little different.
Yeah, the closest thing we have is eggs, because they go in the donut.
Please tell me you do like a maple bacon donut, right?
We do. I just posted that on our Instagram.
That's awesome.
And that's an Instagram I'm going to follow now.
Dad's Donut House.
Nice.
So yeah, and we came Dad's Donut House. The name, you're asking kind of where it came from, was we loved coffee houses. We thought they were cool, but really Dad's Donuts was taken. So there's a company there's a donut shop in California that is Dad's Donuts.
Really?
Okay.
And I thought, maybe they're done and we could just have their name.
Yeah.
No.
Nope.
No, they're not done. They still making donuts. I checked their social media stuff and there wasn't anything there for a while. So I thought, man, maybe they're over. But no, they're still going. And so yeah, Dad's Donut House, because we do want a physical location eventually. We want to go from cottage business to food truck to having our own location. And it'll be like a family when you come in and when you gather there. So.
Right. So that process sounds like it's so for another business owner that potentially could be listening to this. I mean, I think that's a great avenue. Is basically what you're saying is that when you have the funds, then you can help move that forward, and it's part of that. Going back to that conversation that we were having earlier, which was it's the longer game, right? So for somebody who potentially could be feeling like they want to start a business or they feel that the prompting to start a business, would you encourage them as well to potentially to go this route versus going out and getting a loan? And I'm curious to know what your thought process is, because this is definitely the longer road.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I'm sure people have been like, well, why don't you just go get a loan? You can be done with this and start it tomorrow. Right? I mean,
yeah.
So
yeah. Getting a loan is never even a thought.
Okay.
It never really was, because I don't want that weighing over my head. We've got to pay this back. We got to do this. The long game has allowed us to build great relationships with people along the way, and relationships that would have been potentially skipped. It's allowed. I have a family of 4 kids, and my youngest is 6, and I want to. We've said this since the beginning. If we open up a donut business that is to inspire fathers to be present in the lives of their families, but we lose ours in the process, what have we done?
That's great insight.
We have to be willing to take it slow, because if we did get the loan, if we were firing on all cylinders, and the donut business was flying, our family would suffer. You can be the best businessman, and your family suffers at home. And we're all about helping fathers be present in the lives of their families. So, so if that means we take a little bit more time while our kids are young, I'm okay with that.
That's cool.
That's awesome. Yeah. That's great insight that you guys were able to see that early on.
Yeah. Now I'm curious, as we develop businesses, you've talked about the brand of Dad's Donut House. You've talked about the products and kind of, the strategy of moving from cottage to food truck, into a physical location. You've sprinkled along the way thoughts around, like being present as a dad yourself, about listening well, about building relationships. You mentioned kind of an environment, a family environment. So tell us about how you're intentionally trying to sculpt that side of, I mean, for lack of a better term, that side of the brand. But really, that's the heart behind why you even learned to tweak a donut recipe, right? So tell us about how you're intentionally building that aspect.
Yep. So some of it won't happen until we fully open, but the plan will be that first off, when a baby is born and the father is there in the hospital, we will actually give them a free dozen donuts and a copy of our story. Some of the things that I mentioned today, and the themes definitely that I've mentioned. We want them to understand that they have just received the greatest gift that a man can receive in their child, and we want to help them understand, like, this is how you do it. You do it every day. You're present with your family. Things are going to be hard, and you can come and hang out with us on the weekends or whenever, eat some donuts and refuel and get back out there, and create that intentional time with you and your kids. There was a point where I took my kid out, and we were just driving along, and I was asking him, I said, how come I feel like we have a great relationship? And he said, because we spent the time together. That could do things like just going for drives and grabbing stuff, and making sure that we take that time to be present in their lives. I thought that was cool because he was really young. To be able to articulate that was awesome.
That is
cool.
So yeah, when they are in the hospital, we want them to know they matter. The dads. I have 4 kids, and one hospital, and it was only because we tweaked it this way. We called it the Daddy Bistro. That because they had this, you could come grab food whenever you wanted, and anybody who was there staying with mom could have. But we called it the Daddy Bistro because it was mostly for dads, but everywhere we go, all the nurses and doctors and stuff, when it comes time to leave, they give mom all this stuff. Way to go, mom! You're gonna have you're gonna be great. This is gonna be hard, but here's the stuff to help you through. They give mom everything. They gave dad nothing.
Or just a simple congratulations for not passing out.
Right. And there's that.
Yeah.
Yes. So we want to fill that gap. We want to be right there to say, Dad, you have just received the greatest gift. Right. This is how you steward that gift well, and come alongside and help them there. And then when we get into the shop, we've really allowed our past to help guide the future for this. We play our kids. We play football and soccer in the street with our neighbor kids. There's been many times where kids come to our house and they don't know how to throw a football. They don't know how to play basketball, and we teach them. And when we get into our shop, we want to use that as a space to put on a clinic on how to throw a football, and get dads and kids playing catch together, get them, playing board games together, or, organizing trips to go canoeing, or doing stuff together. It's being adventurous.
That's awesome.
We want to cultivate adventure through the platform that we'll create through the donuts, so that we can help fathers to be present in the lives of their families. So
that is really cool, man.
That is cool. I love the fact that the plan is awesome, and it's just amazing to even go to the next step of promoting other stuff outside of the donuts, but of being at a juncture where everybody can see where those things are going on. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I love that. I mean, how many podcasts are out there today talking about the short game, like you said, 4 months, if you're not profitable, what are you doing? And
Right.
thank you for representing the long game, that there are other values that if we focus on
Right.
mean more in the long run than a quick rise to success.
Yep. Yep.
Any aspect of your story that we've skipped over? Anything we're missing? Anything else you want to share?
Or maybe
Go ahead.
go ahead. Can you give us what's your game plan moving forward from this point forward? Like, what's your timeline or goal for the next 6 months?
Yeah. So the goal was to be in the food truck by now.
Okay.
We wanted it to be on Sunday so that we would have Father's Day weekend in the truck. But ordering and all that, shipping and everything
Yes.
didn't happen. So
COVID has definitely thrown off a lot of things, hasn't it?
just a couple. Just a couple. So yeah, as quickly as we can. We've got the hood that goes over the fryer. That's supposed to come today or tomorrow, and getting it in by the weekend, so that we can keep moving forward. We are currently, like I said, we're selling donuts out of our house through the cottage license. That was really important because we want to keep building the brand. We want to build the reputation in the community, so that it's real natural when the truck is ready. We're out there; people already know us.
Right on.
That's awesome.
That's good.
There's a food truck force down here, and as a small business owner, we've developed this phrase and we use it, and it for better or worse, we're using it right now. And if it's not free, it's not for me. And some of that comes with the rebellious, like we can do this on our own. Like there's the food truck force down here. You pay $6,000 a year, and you can join their thing and go wherever. They go and they promote you, but that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
But we don't have that much.
Right.
So donuts will sell themselves once we get going.
Right.
And so yeah, we've been making some of those choices. Then it does, again, like we've been saying, it does mean it's going to be a little bit longer.
Right.
But we're building something.
How many people do you think you've touched so far?
So just this past Father's Day weekend, we made 500 donuts.
Holy smokes! Out of your house?
Out of our house.
How many hours did that take?
We started at 8:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
And we took a break. We did 50 before 11. I shouldn't say that. We started at 9:30. We did 50 before 11. And then we took a break till like 3 o'clock. And then my wife and I finished cleaning up at 2 o'clock in the morning. So,
oh my goodness.
yeah. We got a break in there for dinner,
Yeah.
Right. Holy smokes. That's a lot of donuts.
Yeah,
That's a lot of donuts.
Yeah, it was cool.
Will your capacity be greater out of the truck?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. We have a machine when we get in the truck.
Right.
Oh, wow.
So,
And what does the house smell like?
Smell like donuts all the time?
one of our neighbors drove by on his bike, and he's like, I could smell it. It smells so good.
You'll just need a sign for the front window, like,
Right.
is it Krispy Kreme that does the hot
Yeah, the
donuts
hot
now?
donuts
You know,
now.
Yeah, hot now.
Yeah,
That's awesome. I'm totally coming down there for that.
man. All right, so I got two questions to finish up here, Tom.
Sure.
Yeah, I totally agree with you that the whole donuts will sell themselves thing. When we were getting ready to fire up the interview, one of the other guys that works here walked by and we're like, yeah, we we've got an interview coming up with Donut Tom. That's kind of been our affectionate,
Yeah.
nickname for you.
That's how we know you.
And man, his eyes lit up, and he's like, Donut Tom, who's that? I need to know him. So I think you got a strong brand already, man.
Right.
Here in Indianapolis, even. So, but two questions. One, first, what's the signature donut? What's the best one you guys make?
So my favorite, the one that we've, it's kind of the OG, is vanilla crumb. It is a vanilla glaze that we dip the donut into the glaze, and then we sprinkle it with a strudel topping.
Ooh, that sounds good.
Road trip,
right? When are you open? We're coming.
Just
do
you guys
do you ship?
We'll pick it up.
Oh man, that sounds
so good.
There's nothing like that around here.
I don't even think I've ever seen a donut like that.
Nothing, man.
Yeah.
Well done. All right. Second, you mentioned your Instagram earlier. How can we find you? How can people follow your story? If happen to be driving through Savannah, how do we catch up with you?
Yeah. So right now we're driving everything through our Instagram and Facebook. And so that is where people place orders. And we have a website, we're working on it. But it's Instagram and Facebook are both Dad's Donut House.
Okay.
Dad's Donut House. So
no apostrophe or with apostrophe?
Which you'll type in, and no apostrophe.
Okay.
No.
Perfect.
It's pretty sure. But
it was too hard to do, so we went without it.
Okay.
Yeah.
That works.
It's easier.
That works. Well, Tom, man, it's been great to see you again.
Thank you for spending this time with us.
Yeah, thank you for sharing with us. We just got to figure out how to support your business weekly.
Right.
I don't think. What's the drive from Indianapolis to Savannah? Because I got kids. I could be present with them, but that's a long road trip.
That's a long time to be present in a car.
That's right. So, well, thanks a lot, man, for sharing your story. We really appreciate it. So.
Yeah, thanks, Tom. Thanks so much for being with us today.
Yeah.
Well, Jason, that was a great interview.
That was fun.
I always enjoy talking to Tom because he just, I think what I really appreciate about him is that he's recognized it's a long process. It's a long game for him.
Yeah.
But he hasn't given up hope. And then on top of that, he's been able to bump into some really cool people in the process that have given him great little nuggets to keep him going.
Yeah. Well, and I think the key to the long game that I hear in him, and we didn't say it specifically during the interview, is what you measure progress and success by.
Right.
You know, because that if profitability is your measure of progress, well, then why are we doing it? Right.
Right.
But if you're measuring, being present with dads, or being present with your kids and inspiring fatherhood. I mean, talking about being in the hospitals and giving away donuts and, just talking to families in that space, that's huge.
Right.
That's the success that makes the long game worth it. You know?
And to be able to recognize those gaps, like he mentioned that gap that was in the hospital, like that the dad doesn't really get a whole lot of a, hey, congratulations. But I love the fact that he's able to go, hey, not only are we going to bridge that gap, but we want to help them understand of what blessing that had been poured out on. And I mean, because it's just a huge opportunity, huge time to recognize that the dad is in a crucial seat, at that point in their life,
right. I mean, and we're not diminishing the role of moms whatsoever.
No, heavens no.
Goodness,
no, heavens no.
They do all the work,
right?
But dads just, just be present,
right? Right.
And
but it's also nice to be able to help them recognize, hey, like you're important.
Yeah, you have a critical role as
critical role in this, especially moving forward, right? Right. I mean, so mom did all the work to have the baby show up, right? But at the end of the day, it takes mom and dad.
Yeah. And there's a ton of statistics. We should probably look those up, but there's a ton of statistics of what the father being present in the home life does for the success of not just the family, but the kids and, everyone involved. And so, it makes a lot of sense. So,
right.
Yeah. And I think we can just keep hearing this theme again of what is the, what you're doing as your business model is really the vehicle to accomplish something else. And, a love of donuts and a love for fathers.
It's just a...
the making, developing the donuts and the recipes, that's just kind of the fun part in between the two big things, the loves, the passions. So that's...
And I would have never put those two together. Like, I don't know if you thought about that, but like the first time we talked to Tom, I was like, you're doing what?
Right.
And then you just hear his heart and hear his passion and hear about his inspirational things that are going on. And it's just like, oh, I totally see how those go together now.
Yeah.
And it just goes to show you that you never know what kind of business is going to pop up next, or somebody has some prodding to go do something because of something else, and they can connect the two of them. It's amazing stories like Tom's.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So Tom, thanks for sharing your story again. You guys, thanks for hanging in there.
Check out the notes because Tom's info will be in there, and we can connect you up with some of his details.
And if you're listening, going, man, I'm inspired by this story of of helping fathers be present with their kiddos. Right. They could use the help. I mean, like you said, they're not taking out loans, and so they're taking contributions from the community and things
and
like
they're
that.
Selling donuts and trying to make to help in the process.
So check them out.
Yep. Sounds good.
You guys, thanks for listening. Give us a like, subscribe, comment. Give us a holler. Let us know you're around, and thanks for tuning in, leading and serving.
Thank you.
See you later, Chris.
See ya.